In a world where chaos reigns, purple lightning waves envelops the Demon King's castle. Dragons and various type of monsters are attacking the humans, and some are already fallen. The powerful beasts overpower the human knights. Their fierce attacks make the soldiers lose hope. In result, all they can do is to just wish for the hero to kill the Demon King. However, his battle, which lasts for already one day, is still not over. Inside the Demon King castle, Tia, regarded as the top mage, is lying on the ground. When she wakes up, Moriarty, the Demon King, and the hero, Ash, is having a face-off battle. Moriarty threatens to kill Ash, so he can become the master of their world. But as a hero, Ash will not let him grant his desire to conquer. Moriarty smiles. He challenged Ash to decide the battle in one final hit. However, it turns out that all of those are just comic illustrations by a 25-year-old comic artist, Shu. Shu cries while drawing the panel because as of that day he lost his job. In his previous meeting, his boss yells at his work. The hero fights the Demon King because of its decrease in ratings. He instructed Shu to finish the last chapter within the day, because after that, he's fired. Alone in the office at night, Shu sobs as he declares that they will regret their decision as long as he can finally draw a good comic. All of a sudden, the thunderstorm gets stronger. Suddenly, a lightning hit the building Shu is in. Starting from the light bulbs, the electricity disappears. Without it, Shu complains that he cannot complete his artwork before the deadline. But mysteriously, the computer screen turned on. Shu felt it was weird, because the lights are not opening. Just when he thought that only the computer has power, he puts his palm in it. The next moment, electric waves appeared and it made him startled. Shu shouts and bails for help while the electric waves are getting bigger and electrocutes him. Strangely, the lights disappeared and the computer turned off right after that. Shu finds himself in an unfamiliar dimension wherein Luna, the immigration administrator of his comics world, welcomes him. But with no person in sight, Shu wonders where the sound he's hearing coming from. As Luna prepares Shu's visit to the world, flames envelop Shu's body. Shu felt the hotness of the flames, but strange enough, there's no pain. Shu slightly recovers his composure. Afterwards, Luna announced that his conversion to the world is finished. Luna sent him off, but Shu thought of the light as an exit. Unfortunately for him, he got sent to a strange fantasy world, and at the time, he hasn't any idea where it is, but that's only until he saw the fantasy scenery in front of him. At that moment, he recognized it as the Pant Continent, a continent in the comic he drew. In midst of the battle of the humans and demons, a soldier saw a bizarre object falling from the sky. The other soldiers noticed it too, and saw it heading directly to the Demon King's castle. Unbeknownst to them, that thing is Shu. In the next moment, Shu crashes into the castle, leading to an explosion which damaged the vicinity. Large smoke appeared in the hole left by Shu's collision. Slowly, the smoke disappears, and the figure of Shu, in a different face and body, appeared. Inside his mind, he still thinks that all of what's happening is just a dream. Someone called him out, and when he turned around, he was surprised when he saw that it's Ash, who asked him how a second-class soldier like him smashed through the barrier. Shu was confused when he said that he's a second-class soldier, so he was surprised when he examined himself. He stands up, and the reality of the situation is finally getting into him. Meanwhile, he saw Moriarty unleashing his sword. Moriarty enrages. He was perplexed as of how did a small fry like Shu gets into the castle, so he declared his intent to kill him too. Tia calls out Shu to get him out of the way between the battle of Moriarty and Ash. He saw Tia, but he soon realizes that if that was the content he was drawing earlier, then in the next moment Moriarty will attack. Just as he thought that, Moriarty charges his sword at him. Shu subconsciously defends with his hands, but that won't be enough. Someone runs, but the sword has already been stabbed. Shu was surprised, because instead of him getting killed, Ash ran off to defend him with his body. Tia saw it. The next moment, Moriarty pulls out his sword, and Ash falls to the ground. Shu and Tia run to his aid, but it was already too late. Tia asked him why did he save Shu. On the other hand, Shu is confused, because what's happening is different from his plot. Ash told Tia that his body mysteriously moved on its own to save Shu. With tears in his eyes, he says that he felt like saving him even with the cost of his life. With his last words, he asks them to protect the world. Shu cannot believe what's occurring. All of a sudden, countless warning signs appeared, and only he can see it. Luna announces that with the protagonist's death, the rating of his comics falls off below the standard stable value. After that, she tells Shu that his comics world is about to collapse. Inside the collapsed Demon King castle, Moriarty approaches the two. He told them not to be sad for Ash's death, because dying by his own hands is a contribution for his continent conquer itself. Tia refused his wish. She yells at him that he's not worthy of being the master of the continent. Moriarty didn't like what she just said. He mocks the people who sealed him 1,000 years ago, who also apparently said the same thing. Shu noticed Moriarty's furiousness and wished for Tia to not provoke him any further. Moriarty stands in front of them, confident that the world will be finally his, due to Ash's death. Tia activates her staff. She declares her and her kingdom's intention to fight. She slowly casts her magic, but Moriarty didn't even see her as a threat. He effortlessly shoves her away, and in the next moment, she was slammed into the wall. Powerless, her face smacked the floor. Moriarty laughs at her disability to fight properly without the hero by her side. He plans to kill Shu first, and publicly execute her after. Right after he said that, he turns around to face Shu. Nervous and horrified, Shu notices he can't move his body even how much he wants it to. He suddenly thought that even if he has many disappointments in his life, it was still peaceful, unlike the dangerous situation he's currently in. He thought how ironic it is to be killed by one of the characters he made. But after that, he decided not to be afraid at his own creation. Moriarty stabs his demonic sword into Shu. He jumps away to dodge it, but he still felt pain somewhere in his body. Just when he thought that he was able to evade Moriarty's attack, he spotted one of his feet detached. Shu yelled out in pain. Moriarty approached him. With a mad smile, he sarcastically praised Shu for dodging his sword. Meanwhile, despair is catching up to Shu's state of mind. Tia tries to stop Moriarty from killing Shu, but he pays no attention to her plead. Moriarty grabs Shu's head with just one hand. Shu is anticipating his next move. As his creator, he's sure that he'll definitely cut his head, because he personally added it as Moriarty's hobby. Sure enough, Moriarty tries to behead him. Fortunately, Shu deflects the attack using a sword. Tia noticed that the sword he's using is from Ash. Apparently, when his leg got cut off by Moriarty earlier, it just happened that it pushed him to the location of Ash's sword. He grabbed the blade when Moriarty pulled him up, and then hit it in his blind spot. Moriarty gets amused by the turn of events. After that, his strength was boosted. Shu realizes that Ash's sword is breaking. He concludes that it must be due to his weakness that makes him unable to wield the hero's sword. Moriarty finally sees his complete victory in sight. On the other hand, Shu is struggling to survive. He teared up while thinking how he was not able to accomplish anything in the real world, then now he is getting killed by his own creation. While battling his emotional struggles, Shu engraves it in his mind that he is the comic artist of that world. Before Moriarty's sword beheads him, he madly announces that he is the one who created all of them. Moriarty swings his sword, but it suddenly broke and Shu got blown away instead of getting killed. Shu was surprised that he is still okay. When he looked at Moriarty, he noticed that he is slowly disappearing. Moriarty asked him what he meant by his statement. Confused, he asked Shu about his slow disappearance, and he denies the existence of such power. But before he can even finish his sentence, he was blown up into pieces. Shu is puzzled because he doesn't know what's happening. He suddenly heard Tia's scream, and when he glanced at her, she is slowly vanishing too. Sobbing, she asked for Shu's help, but it was already too late for Shu to help her. Tia disappeared the same way Moriarty did. Shu kneels to the ground, confused. Afterwards, Ash disappeared like Tia and Moriarty. But it's not just them, even the whole demon city also starts to disappear, and Shu has completely no idea about this sudden predicament. Suddenly, a text bubble appeared in front of him. Luna informed him that because he said the forbidden word, which is revealing that he's the creator, the rating of his comics reduced to 0, and that means it will completely collapse. She added that all of them will disappear within a minute, so a visitor like Shu immediately needs to evacuate. He asked her how to do that, and a command key button appeared in front of him. He realizes that it is the same shortcut key in exiting his drawing software. With the hopes of returning to the real world, he pushes the button, but nothing happened. Luna investigates the cause of failure, and when completed, she revealed that Shu died in the real world due to electrocution. Shu was shocked. Now that he knew he died in the real world, he now associates himself to a mere spirit. When he looked at his hands, he saw that they are gradually disappearing. The same thing goes to his body, and it made him scared and furious. Desperate, he asks Luna what will happen to him, but the answers are all the same, which is death. He grovels to the ground, feeling the hopelessness. All of a sudden, another button appeared. This time, it's a Command Z. Luna says that the collapse of that world is inevitable, but pressing the Control Z button can reset the entire comic. Shu sees hope at this option. He wants to reset the comic, to rewrite his fate. Back to when Shu felt hopelessness. Luna reveals that if a visitor to that world dies in reality, he cannot exit the world, and his soul will be destroyed, leading to complete death. Shu was frightened just by thinking about it. Fortunately, Luna informs him that Command Z will let that world be reborn, and his soul will temporarily escape death, with the price of resetting the entire contents of the comics. Regardless, Shu views this as an opportunity to travel back and redraw his creation. Luna assures him that his understanding is correct. After that, Shu finally realizes that it is equivalent to changing history. He thought of a plan to redraw the comic and make it more entertaining than the original, and to ultimately change its ratings. He blames his comic's low ratings for the fact that he got electrocuted and died, so he thought that if he can improve its ratings by redrawing it, he can prevent the electrocution. Shu concludes that improved ratings can bring his real self back from its death. In response, Luna confirms his speculations and says that he can enable the command key to quit the comic world after that. Even so, Shu still has doubts if he can do it. Luna warns him that if he can't improve the ratings compared to the original version, nothing will change and he will still be dead. Shu asked her how he can find out what the rating of his comic is. Luna tells him that she will show him the feedback of the readers and he is free to use it to make adjustments to his plot. She reminds him that his comic and the readers will decide if he will live or not. For that, she orders him to complete his comic. Right after, Luna questions him again if he wants to reset, and Shu immediately said yes. He is determined to create a great comic, to make it out alive. All of a sudden, he notices small letters appearing above and below the button. It is a reminder that reset can only be used 3 times, and the reader's likes will save his life. Eventually, a notice appeared that only 5 seconds remained before the collapse of his comic. Shu stares at the button, and after saying his gratitude to the readers, he successfully pushes it before the countdown. Luna starts the process to reboot the world. The rating of Shu's comics reached the stable score, and the loading started. After reaching 100%, the screen was spammed with a reset successful notification. Someone is calling out Ash's name, but it suddenly changed into the name of Shu. Shu wakes up. He suddenly remembers that his leg was cut off, so he immediately looked at it, only to find out that it is fixed, albeit in chains. Uncle Ben, a fellow slave, and a character Shu made, complains about the long time it took for him to wake up. Shu looks at the surroundings, and he realizes that it is the same scene in the first chapter of his comic. He mentions that before Ash became a hero, he was a slave digging magic ores, and he can't believe that the same thing is happening to him. Unfortunately, the slave owner, Richie, arrives at the mine and saw Ben and Shu just resting. Ben explains that Shu fainted so he helped him, and Richie understands it right away since someone passed out. But suddenly, he smashed Ben's face and accused them of slacking off. Ben falls and eventually fainted. Shu yells his name because he's worried, but Richie suddenly announced that the 2 of them needs to double their workload as punishment. He orders them to bring 4 magic ores or else he'll cut off their hands. Shu can only agree to what Richie said. He immediately started to mine the cores. Meanwhile, Ben is eating when he suddenly apologized to Shu for troubling him. He tells him he'll come and help soon, but Shu assures him it's okay, even if it's really not. Because of lack of exercise, Shu's body is not used to doing strenuous activity. He suddenly asked Ben where's Ash, but Ben has no idea who that is. Shu finds it hard to believe, because in the original, Ben grew up watching Ash. Luna conducts a search to find Ash, but she informs Shu that there's no Ash in that world, and the protagonist is him. Shu was surprised when he heard it, and he complains to Luna about becoming the substitute of the original protagonist. He's close to saying the forbidden word, but because he suddenly remembered the world's previous collapse, he was able to stop himself. Ben watches Shu, but is confused at his strange behavior. Shu noticed his gaze and realizes that he's the only one who can see Luna's notifications. Luna affirms that she can see or hear his voice, and Shu asked her if there's a dialogue box beside him. Luna says he's correct, and it made him speechless. All of a sudden, the magic cores in the area started acting strangely. After Ben and Shu noticed it, it collapsed unexpectedly. Ben complains about all the weird things that's happening. On the other hand, Shu immediately realized what that is. He remembered that in the original, Ash accidentally fell there due to an earthquake, and he awakened his powers after. But currently, Shu sensed no earthquakes happening. He thinks that it may be because his behavior is different to what Ash did. A prompt box appeared, and Luna reminds him to reconsider his actions before doing it, because it'll affect the ratings. Now that he is aware that he's the protagonist, Shu keeps in mind that the reader's attention is essential to get, especially for his first chapter. To not make the readers slide past the panels, he plans to make it more exciting and engaging than the original. He recalls what Ash did, and right after, he let Ben know that he'll go inside the burrow. Ben immediately disagrees to his idea. Determined, Shu informed him that if he didn't come back in half a day, that means he'd already died. But he tells him that if he managed to come back, they'll never need to mine again. This insane declaration made Ben perplexed. Shu jumps off to the hole, and Ben was unable to stop him. In his new story, where an artist becomes a protagonist, high rating means to live, otherwise, it's death. Shu gets excited as he thinks about his exhilarating situation. Meanwhile, in a dark space lies Ash's body, levitating. His unconscious state suddenly showed signs of waking up. In the underground magic mining area, Shu jumps into a burrow that showed up. The end of the pit was then visible to him for the first time. When he finally reached it, he fell into something that made breathing difficult for him. Thankfully, that is just the slime that was originally intended to save Ash in the original. Afterwards, the slime spit Shu out. Shu suddenly saw his pickaxe in the ground. He assumed that it fell over there after the large blast. In the area, Shu witnessed the abundance of magic ores in his surroundings. Magic ores is an important resource in that world. It can be used to recharge magical machineries, just like oil in the real world. In addition, it can also provide the energy to cast magic, and can even serve as a currency. Shu worries that within a month, Moriarty's seal will be undone, and there is a need for him to prepare more magic mines. Shu complains about the ache of his waist after digging, but suddenly, a group of scavengers lurks to hunt him. Shu noticed it, but the scavengers already charged towards to kill him. Shu runs for his life. He remembered that in his original version, these are the first monsters that Ash killed. Back then, Ash used his brute strength to fight. Unfortunately, Shu don't have that. Shu continuously runs to keep his distance from the scavengers, but in the next moment, one caught up to him and slashes his back. 3 large claw marks are carved in Shu's back as he yells. The attack strikes him away, and he got slammed into the magic cores. The scavengers are right in front of him, but he got backed into the corner. The scavengers growl to commence their attack, but Shu didn't give up. He throws white balls to the 3, and when it hits them, they suddenly got caught on fire. Shu didn't miss this opportunity. He charges at them and hit a scavenger with his pickaxe. The other scavengers backed away. Shu threatened them, and they surprisingly got scared. Eventually, he managed to beat the scavengers. Shu pants because of the exhaustion he gets. When he thought inside his mind that food can make throats bloom, a notification unexpectedly came. Shu rejoiced when the prompt box finally shows the attributes panel, but he was disappointed when he saw his -1 strength. All of a sudden, Luna detected the low-end system of the panel. Afterwards, she tries to take over and successfully upgraded the system. The attribute panel changed its appearance with accordance to Luna's upgrade. She urges him to use his voice to add strength. Shu was amazed at its boost in intelligence and immediately shouts to add +4 to his strength. Shu felt the changes when he noticed the pickaxe became lighter. He put another 4 points to his agility, and with the remaining 1 point, he added it to his mana. The mana comes into Shu, and it means that he can finally use magic. Shu is planning to dig up the magic ores. For that, he orders Luna to activate the hero backpack function. He prepares his stance and quickly harvests a great number of magic cores. The backpack function enables him to automatically collect the harvested materials. After digging, Shu successfully stored a total of 25 tons of high-precision magic ores. When he was about to leave the area, he suddenly noticed something strange. He saw a thin layer of blue light, which he does not recognize. He tried to enter it, and Luna informs him that it was an enchantment barrier he himself established in the past. Shu asks if it can be lifted, and because he's its owner, Luna grants his wish to remove it. He entered the area but failed to see anything special there. But all of a sudden, he heard a monster's scream. When he looked at its direction, a large powerful monster lurks in front of him. Shu trembles. He immediately recognized that it's the Underworld King, a monster he deleted because of its overwhelming strength. Confused, Luna informs him that the characters he scrapped won't disappear in the comic world, rather it'll be trapped in the enchantment. Despair crawls up to Shu. However, Luna gives him a secret task, to kill the Underworld King.